Hello everyone. From massive debris flows to waterfalls right in the middle of cities, it's time to witness the most powerful and sudden floods and marvel at the raw force of nature. Let's get it on. It's good that people record these incidents on video, reminding us to respect nature, because it can show us just how powerful it can be. These guys made the right call, sticking close to the pole and the building edge where they could grab onto something. The water proved to be way stronger than they expected. Check it out. The car's floating like a toy boat. It's terrifying to imagine what would happen to anyone caught in that current. And unfortunately for the cameraman, that's his car. You don't often hear about these kinds of consequences of heavy rains. Take India as an example. When it rains heavily, water can pool on the train tracks. So, when a train speeds into the station, it can splash everyone with a massive wave of water. So, even if you carry an umbrella all the time, you might still end up getting wet. In certain regions of Spain, the impact of intense rainfall was so extreme that it looked more like a waterfall cascading through the streets. The force of the water was so powerful that it could sweep away cars which weigh over a ton. A house with an ocean view sounds magical, doesn't it? That is, until a powerful storm hits and the waves reach 2 meters high. In several towns along the coasts of Ireland and the North Sea, this was exactly what happened. People must have thought their homes were far enough from the water, so they were shocked when they saw massive waves coming closer. Being this close to the ocean isn't so peaceful anymore. This is what flooding looks like during winter time. When a storm hits a city and the temperature drops to freezing or below, the water flows start to freeze and turn into a sluggish ice flow. Even though it moves slowly, it can still flood the streets and make life really tough for people. For instance, it can completely wreck cars. Not to mention how chilling it is to just see this kind of weather. Hit the like button if you get cold just from looking at that damp, chilly street.
This guy's gonna get stuck. What are you doing?
Not every car, or rather driver, would push through a flood. But this fearless Houston resident did just that. While everyone else pulled over, unsure what to do, he kept driving into the water. To everyone's amazement, his determination paid off. I bet his boss showed that video to all the other employees who came up with excuses for not making it to work that day.
Hey, he's got balls, man. Balls, stupidity.
The bridge that folks in a small Texas town normally crossed multiple times a day was hit hard by the flooding after some heavy rains. Small streams had turned into raging rivers. As a result, most people chose a longer route to avoid the danger, but one driver decided to take the risk. Luckily, everything turned out fine, and the man got out safely. But after that, he's probably not going to dare challenge Mother Nature again.
Oh my God, oh my God! No, don't do it, don't. Oh my God, oh my God. Stay back.
Everyone at the Rio de Janeiro beach came to relax, but nature had other plans. It seems like it was fed up with all the tourists and decided to show them who's boss. Living by a river is wonderful, but you need to keep in mind how unpredictable nature is. The water level in the river has risen significantly, leading to erosion of the banks. Unfortunately, this beautiful house was right on one of those eroding banks. Take a look at what happens when a city is hit by a flood. Heavy rainfall doesn't just cover a few streets, it creates a flow from higher grounds that brings along everything but clean water. As a result, many roads remain blocked, making it impossible to drive or even walk through them. Rubber boots probably won't help you reach the store easily in such conditions. Italy is a super popular destination for tourists, mainly because of its stunning views and great weather. Imagine how surprised the visitors must have been when they looked out the window and saw this. Despite the severe flooding, no one was hurt, and the next day many people went out to help clean up the mess left by the weather. I'd give anything to see the face of the person whose GPS told them to take this shortcut. The current may not look too dangerous or fast, but it managed to wash out the banks and a whole stretch of road. It's creepy, but also impressive how nature can do something like this. When you realize what nature is capable of, you can't help but admire it even more. Judging by the murky water and all the debris, this flow isn't coming from a clear mountain lake. It probably picked up stuff from places that don't usually see much rain on its way down. But honestly, if you close your eyes, the flooding could even feel soothing, like a little ASMR for everyone living nearby. The last thing anyone wants is to get stuck on a bus in the middle of the city in this kind of weather. Unfortunately, that's exactly what happened to some residents in Hong Kong when they were caught off guard by a massive storm. The city was hit with heavy rainfall that flooded several neighborhoods. Just imagine it, there was almost no escape from this weather. A tiny village in Colombia got hit by a huge flood that overwhelms the area in seconds. Check out how fast the water engulfed the houses in the low area. It's really a miracle that everyone got out safely and no one got hurt. But now, 30 houses are in need of serious repairs.
Bendito sea mi Dios, hombre.
Just because you can't see the raging waters during a flood doesn't mean they can't cause damage. After a series of heavy rains hit one of Brazil's largest states, the downpours finally eased up, and people thought the worst was over as the water on the streets started to recede. But then, they saw a small structure being carried by the current toward a bridge, only for it to collapse like a house of cards.
Meu Deus do céu! Me tira tudo logo!
This isn't just boiling water, it's the aftermath of a river overflow in Minnesota. The intense flooding reached the dam and damaged one side of it. You can tell the current was really strong with large water flows. Even to a regular person, it was obvious the dam was at risk of collapsing. It's like nature was nudging the local government to get serious about fixing it. Even though the bridge held up, it couldn't serve its purpose for a while. Due to heavy thunderstorms in a suburb of Austria, there were floods. With such a powerful current, it's easy to believe that it washed out and blocked some roads. Even the bridge downstream got closed off because of the strong flow. And it wasn't just the bridge, the water even reached the town's streets. Something similar happened in India, but this time the massive surge of water didn't catch people off guard. They actually gathered on the shore to watch the tide fill up the shallow parts of the river. Just listen to how excited they are. It's not hard to get them. Seeing the raw power of nature up close makes it hard to hold back your excitement. Sometimes water can get dangerously close to homes. For example, the people in this village had to quickly evacuate and move to higher ground to escape the flood. It's scary to think about what could have happened if the current had reached their houses. I don't know what kind of charms or amulets they have hanging in their homes, but they seem to have done a good job protecting them from nature's fury.
We're in a Jeep sitting on 37s. Look at this. Wow. Wow, dude, look at that. That is a water treatment plant. Underwater. This is all lake. Now, this is crazy. Look at that gas station.
The people of Houston will remember this flood for a long time. In just a few days, the state saw over 30 centimeters of rainfall. Many streets were flooded, roads were blocked by the water, and residents had to be evacuated for their own safety. With parts of the city underwater, there's not much to do but stay home. And if you're there, it's best to be on the second floor or higher. El Paso gets flooded quite often, so the locals are probably used to seeing stuff like this. For people from areas with consistently nice weather though, it can be pretty shocking. The aftermath of a heavy rain can look like this. It's more like a waterfall than a typical flood. Just look at how fast the water is moving. At least the locals know exactly how to stay safe in situations like this. Believe it or not, a dam stood here for 114 years. It held back excess water and protected the valley residents from flooding. But one day, a flood hit the structure, washing out the power station. The river started washing away the river bank and eventually broke through. Despite standing strong in the water for over a century, the dam couldn't handle the overwhelming force of nature. That's what people who live near this river in France got to see. They say the locals haven't seen anything like this for more than 20 years. The cause of this rare phenomenon was strong thunderstorms that triggered a river overflow. A huge amount of natural debris started flowing downstream. Workers even had to clear the riverbed to unblock its flow and clean the water in the clogged banks. The view from the window is truly remarkable. However, during the storm, the residents of the British coastal town regretted choosing to live there. In the most dangerous areas, wind speeds reached 130 kilometers per hour, causing massive waves to crash against the cliffs and houses along the shore. It was both a terrifying and breathtaking sight.
Okay, what's the weather forecast?
We should go get slight chance of flash flooding, maybe.
Chance of flash flooding?
All right, we gotta move.
Okay, let's get out of here.
This flow just increased like.
Let's go, come on.
Take our video this
Let's go. He went back. Yeah, see, look, that's eating up where we were.
Yeah, that wasn't there.
Yeah, I'm filming the whole thing.
Excellent.
Even our most excellent escape.
If you don't believe water is a powerful force, just see what it can do. In just a second, the current can pick up and sweep away anything in its path, including massive boulders. You definitely don't want to be caught in that.
Ça débite soit on y passe avec la salle, soit on passe avec.
It looks like the workers will need to find new places to stay. A flood unexpectedly hit the site where their trailers were parked, sweeping them away with the current in just a few minutes. Fortunately, no one was inside at the time, but just imagine how it must have felt for them to see their homes floating away together. People cross this bridge to the other side every day, never expecting what was about to happen. The tiny stream wasn't scary at all, and the suspension bridge seemed safe and sturdy. But nature reminded everyone what it's capable of. During a flood, a surge of water crashed down on the bridge, reducing it to just a memory of its former self in a matter of seconds. After that, many people had to find a new route, and the builders had to take the weather into account, making the new bridge a bit stronger. I bet you wouldn't recognize beautiful Spain from those videos. The region was hit by an enormous storm. Heavy rain and strong winds transformed the city streets beyond recognition, making them nearly impassable. Water was flooding the ground floors of buildings, roads were blocked, and even the airports had to halt operations to keep people safe. Think about how challenging it must have been for the rescuers to drive through the city and help people in those circumstances. These people are lucky to be in a safe zone where the flood hasn't reached them yet. But look at the scale of it. No chance such a large and powerful flow of water would just stop and not spread any further. So the guys should hurry up and move their cars before something like this happens to them.
يا الله يستر الله يستر الله يستر يا الله يا الله.
Poor owners will go crazy trying to find their missing cars. Living by the ocean in the northern part of the US is far from the dream many imagine. Instead of year-round beach vacations with a cocktail in hand, it often means keeping a close eye on weather forecasts, dealing with closed windows, and managing unbearable humidity. Severe storms make daily life and work challenging for locals. Few people would consider dining by the ocean when such weather is raging outside. That's why, during terrible weather and abnormal tides, many local restaurants just shut down, and locals stay indoors, waiting for better conditions. When floods hit mountainous regions, they don't just send water downstream, they also drag along a lot of natural trash like sticks, leaves, and tiny stones. As a result, rivers can look really messy after these events because all the debris gets dumped in the water. Picture what it will look like once all this debris is settled. Picture this. You wake up in the morning, get ready for work, and when you open the door, you're greeted by an unexpected flood on your street. That's how the day began for the town's residents. They had to stay home and watch the swift current, though a few brave souls chose to head out. I don't think an umbrella's gonna help here, buddy. It looks like the flooding disrupted many people's plans by washing out this road. From these scenes, it seems like a small stream always ran here, and the roads just curved somewhere. But that's not the case. Normally, there's no water here, and drivers pass through without any problem. However, on that day, nature had different plans. The cameraman will have to turn around and take a different route. When the hurricane hit Brooklyn, the entire neighborhood turned into one big swimming pool. The streets were so flooded that it was pointless to go outside without a wetsuit. Meanwhile, the rain kept falling, making the water level rise even higher. Besides the obvious problems, there were others people aren't usually prepared for, like sewer systems that couldn't handle the deluge. So, people who thought they'd stay dry in their apartments ended up dealing with a local flood in their bathroom. People sometimes visit spots like these just to see an empty riverbed fill with water. After recent rains, the locals discovered that a flood was coming their way down from the hills. Luckily, the city and houses were safe, but the riverbed was completely filled. It was an impressive sight, and it's no surprise the cameraman went out to film it. This is what happens when flooding occurs in winter. In this Swiss river, for example, the current carried thousands of ice chunks downstream. This was likely caused by melting and precipitation, and the layer of ice that hadn't melted yet just broke apart. Eventually, the surface of the water was covered with numerous chunks, which the flow carried down the slope. It's hard not to be amazed by nature when you see something like this. Take a look at this huge mudflow filmed in Switzerland. No one stopped time here, and it's got nothing to do with superheroes. It's just that all the water flowed downwards, while the solid rocks settled at the bottom. Luckily for us and the cameraman, a new flow is already on its way. Floods can be devastating, but watching them from a safe distance can be fascinating for hours. The Illgraben River is famous in Switzerland for its unusual appearance. It doesn't just carry water, it also carries a mix of light-coloured rocks. From a distance, it looks more like a big muddy stream than a river. Over time, it has even shaped the landscape and created a unique bay. People there even refer to it as their local Grand Canyon. The residents of San Fernando clearly knew what was coming, so they grabbed a camera and went to observe. Fortunately, they managed to capture the flood, bringing with it a huge amount of branches and tree trunks. It looks like many trees had dried up and fallen to the ground, only to be swept away by the flowing water. Hopefully, the river gets narrower, because real trouble begins when such debris piles up in one spot and blocks the water flow.